Welcome to Before Floor, the pregame edition of 5 on the Floor, brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Jonathan, aka 3-Piece Combo, and today we're joined by the staple of the 5 Reasons Sports podcast, Mr. Ethan J. Skolnick, and we're joined by a regular of our pregame show, and he's coming with our sword. He's already ready for Halloween.
It's not a sword. It's not a sword. It's a knife. It's a large knife. That's it. Okay. I'm going after Heat Twitter today. I'm hacking it down. That's it. Just people want to be right. That's all they care about. They just want to be right. Go ahead. Even though they're wrong. Go ahead.
And we also got Mateo Mayorga and Mr. Alejandro Villegas joining us. And we're also going to have Marco joining us in a little bit. So before you guys, like I said, as always, if you guys are on the road, make sure you guys drive safe. And if you're not, make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys subscribe. Yeah. And if you're watching us and you're young and with a family, make sure you guys check out markbrownpa.com, right? Give him a call. That's marcbrownpa.com. Or reach out to him at 954-866-8513. If you're young with a family and you have any financial assets and you want to make sure they're taken care of, if something were to happen in this crazy world, make sure to reach out to him. He's based out of the North Lauderdale area, services the entire area, and he's a Heat fan. So like I always say, make sure you give your business to a Heat fan and not somebody else. So like I said, go on his website. Make sure you check out all his financial planning that he can do for you at markbrownpa.com or give him a call at 954-866-8513. Now, if you guys want to make sure you guys are playing your best daily fantasy, you want to go to prizepicks.com. Use the promo code 5. That's FIVE. Spell it out. They'll double your deposit up to $100. Now, when it comes to your daily fantasy, this is where you want to go. It's really simple. You just go, you pick a couple players, you pick if they'll go over or under on certain statistics like points, rebounds, or assists. And if you hit on all of them, you win your money. And you also have a little bit of a flex play as well. So you have a little bit of a buffer in case you do get one of those players wrong. So like I said, go to prizepicks.com, use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and we'll double your deposit up to $100. Now, guys, like Ethan said, there's a lot of debate going on right now with Heat Twitter. Personally, I love it. I love hearing both sides of the argument. I think it's fun. I just love. I'm a fight fan, so I like seeing those type of interactions go down. But that's me personally. But I want to talk to you about where this team can be right before we talk about this game. Miami's in a position right now where we have a couple of holes that we need to figure out when it comes to figuring out some scoring, the rebounding, the power rotation, but as well as, this Eastern Conference, outside of the Milwaukee Bucks, there's not really too many locks at the top of the Eastern Conference, and there's routes and avenues for Miami to make it far. But one of those routes and one of the ways that we're going to have to do it is Tyler Herro is going to have to be on his A game. Like we saw last night, we were able to keep it close most throughout, but they were able to pull away. But if Tyler was able to have a better game, I think that would have been a much more competitive game coming down to the end. So, Ethan, I'll start with you on this one. If Tyler Herro is on his A game throughout, most of the regular season and going into the playoffs, where is this team's ceiling come playoff time? You're on mute.
Against the good teams, they need at least 3 to 3.5 of their big four going, in my view, if they're going to win those games. And I think we saw it in the last game. You had Bam and you had Jimmy. That's about as well as they can play together. They are not perfectly matched. It is not, you would not put the two of them together necessarily on the offensive end. You need buffers between them. You need other scorers to add to the mix. And then you look at Lowry, who was okay. Okay. So let's say 2.5, and then you got like -2 Tyler. Okay. Like that can't happen. Like you have to be 3.5 out of 4 with those guys. And it's one thing for Tyler, and I've been one of Tyler's biggest defenders. I was in favor of the contract. I was in favor of not trading him unless you got exactly what you wanted, not Tyler and the whole damn team for somebody, okay? But if it was Tyler and a slight upgrade, and it's Tyler and filler, okay, or a couple of decent players or a couple of picks, then maybe you do make the upgrade. But I was not in favor of just dumping him like a lot of people are, all right? He's 22 years old, and he has improved in every single way, and he does try to improve. He is a high-effort person, okay, behind the scenes. But all right, he's got to be better against good teams. I was looking at the numbers today, and it's just he'll eat tonight. Okay, I would go over on him tonight. It's Sacramento. He's going to be fine tonight. But my issue is, okay, so then they get Golden State in here next week on Tuesday. What's he going to do against them? What is he going to do against Phoenix? That's the issue for me. It's not Tyler against bad teams or teams that play a lot of drop. It's Tyler against teams that are going to pressure him, force him to make decisions, force him to occasionally go without a screen. That's where he's got to get to. He's not there yet.
Mute. Happens
You're
to the
spreading
best.
it. It's spreading
I
like a
mean, I,
virus.
I gave that to you. I passed that down to you as the host of this show. It's now yours. It's your burden to bear.
Mateo, where are you feeling like I said, if Tyler Hero is hitting his potential, given the holes that we know that we have, right? Where do you feel this team's ceiling is heading into the playoffs?
Well, Ethan hit the nail on the head of the other factors, like Kyle needing to play well, Jimmy and Bam needing to be the best versions of themselves. But if Tyler is looking like he did earlier before last game, and he's healthy, he's turning into a 3-level scorer. I would think maybe a conference finals berth, nothing more than that at this moment. The only thing I think he needs to improve on in the scoring department is getting to the free throw line more often. He only takes 3 shots there a game. I'd like to see around 7 or 8 more, because that affects the pace, and that also gives your defense a break. Now, he's a very good player. He's also very reliable in catch and shoot opportunities as a secondary playmaker. So I think the Heat really need him healthy, and having him on the floor next to Jimmy and Bam, it really opens things up, because those 2 guys are going to be the ones catching the schemes before him. So I think it presents a lot to offer.
Now, when it comes to, you mentioned Jimmy and Bam being on their game, right? When it comes to those 2 guys, I think last night showed in a playoff series how those 2 guys defensively can control a game, right? They can make teams have to work. Now, Marco, I'll go to you on this one. There's a lot of good defensive duos in the league. Do you think Bam and Jimmy is the best defensive duo in the NBA right now?
I was kind of thinking about this the other day, and I think they're at least top 3. The other guys I can really think of are Robert Williams and Marcus Smart, but then they're barely on the floor together, so it's really kind of Jimmy and Bam by default almost. And other than that, I couldn't really think of anybody else. So I guess really just top 2 at the very least.
Marco, would you say Kawhi and Paul George, if they're healthy, are in the conversation?
There you go. That's another one. That's a caveat. It's if they're healthy, but you rarely see them on the floor together. So I guess they, even then, I think Paul George and Kawhi have kind of taken a step down defensively. Nakai has talked about this. I've seen a lot. I think he wrote a post about it, but he talked a lot about this. He says Kawhi is not the same guy that people think he is anymore, and that's a lot to do with him. He takes a lot of LeBron-like steps back during the regular season. Now he's not going to go so hard anymore. He's not the same guy he was even just 2 years ago, and that's probably for the better. Jimmy is like that too, but to a lesser extent. So I think those 2 guys, I still wouldn't have them above Jimmy or Bam.
Now, Bam last night, Mateo, he had a really good shot profile, right? He was getting that shot around the rim, and definitely want to give Brady the credit for breaking down the film on this. But he was able to kind of not fully roll to the rim, but kind of just hang out in the middle and then just get a lot of those shots in that middle area. Went 10 for 13 last night. And we're kind of seeing that just a little bit more, like we talked about. He's just getting a little more comfortable, a little more acclimated in this offense. Do you feel like Bam is starting to kind of turn the corner on when he's, finding his spots and kind of just getting into his offense a little more efficiently and with a little less patience?
Absolutely. He was having trouble earlier in the season. We're still early. It's only been 7% of the season passed. But in the first few games, he was having trouble scoring in the paint. And in the last game against the Warriors, he was immaculate, 7 for 7 there. It's great to see, because his confidence is only going to increase. And I think seeing the field goal go in so close to the rim or in the paint just encourages you to take outside shots. And that's something the Heat really want to do, to open up lanes for the other guys and eventually see him take top of the key threes. And I don't think that would ever happen if he was shooting poorly around the paint. But what we saw last game was great to see, Jonathan.
Now, Ethan, again, no Dwayne Dedmon, which in my opinion, addition by subtraction. You know what I mean? I think the upper respiratory infection, like I said with the plantar fasciitis, it could be something that's career threatening. So we should probably rest him for the year for that. But given that, we're gonna see more Nikola Jovic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we saw him get a little more acclimated with the offense. I think sometimes when the Warriors went to a zone, he was kind of the zone killer, because he was able to find some spots and just get in. And to see him do that at 19 years old, just be so smart, is very exciting to see. What do you expect to see from him tonight?
Well, you mentioned it's his feel for the game that's impressive. I think we can talk about the other stuff. He clearly needs to get stronger. He clearly defensively has a long ways to go, but he just has a natural feel for the game. He has a guard's feel for the game, and that is what Adam Simon liked the most. That is what they think they can develop. I don't think they enter training camp. And again, I was in the Bahamas with them. I don't think they entered training camp with the thought process that he was going to play a lot early. I really don't. I think Spo. I think it's really two things that have happened here. The first thing is Spo really likes him. Okay, it's obvious. Okay, he likes the way that they can play with him. They can play differently. He clearly does pick up things pretty quickly. Spo likes molding guys, and he has more to mold with this guy than a lot of the others that he's been given. But the other thing is it's by necessity, because I don't think they planned on playing Dwayne Dedmon. I really don't. Like, I feel like this was strictly a transactional move. This was get him to 2 years at decent money so that he's a tradable player in January. To me, that's what I've always thought this was. And he look, he's not going to complain because they gave him extra money, basically. I mean, that's what they did. They gave him extra money with the assumption he wasn't going to play much, that he was going to play behind Yurt, okay, probably as the first big off the bench. And that's why they experimented, not with Dedmon and Bam, but they experimented with Yurt and Bam early in the preseason. But then Yurt got hurt. Okay. And then Dedmon has been unplayable. I don't think they figured he was going to be unplayable. He declined last year. He didn't give him what he gave him the year before, but they still thought he was a functional backup center. He is not at this stage. Okay. And so I think it's full go on Jovic. I think this is about Jovic or Yurt when Yurt gets back. I think they're comfortable with Caleb at the 4. I know everybody is pointing to that position. The starting lineup has been a net positive by a significant amount when it's played together. The starting lineup has not been the problem. It's been when you've taken a piece in, a piece out, and all the rest of this that they've had issues. So they're okay with Caleb, okay? Would they like him in a different role eventually if they can get the right guy? Yes. But I think Caleb's going to stay at the 4, starting 4. But I think you're going to see Jovic and Yurt, one or the other, once Yurt is back at the backup minutes. Tonight, this is a perfect kind of game for Jovic. Sacramento doesn't play defense. He's going to be able to move to the spots that he wants to move to. He'll look good tonight. I actually think he'll have a breakout game tonight. Mute.
You're muted.
Like I said, you're spreading it. So they're giving up 120 points a game. Sacramento, they're not a good defensive team. But they do have, they traded away Halliburton, right? But Marco, I think De'Aaron Fox looks like he took a step this year. I mean, it's only a couple of games in. He's only 4 games in, but he's averaging 30 points a game. And on 6.5 attempts from 3, he's averaging 42%. Now, we've kind of gone through a little bit of a roulette, with Dame, Steph Curry. Now we're going to have, go up against De'Aaron Fox and another good point guard. Do you think that we play him a little bit differently and we trap him a little more instead because, they don't have the offensive output outside of him? Or do you think we do something similar like we did against Dame and Steph?
Ooh, the trapping is interesting. Dame got a little bit of that trap stuff from Caleb Martin at half court. And I love that at one point, Dame just kind of shot a half court 3 almost, and he made it. That's how you break a trap, which is pretty hilarious. De'Aaron's not going to do that, so I could see a little bit of trap here and there, but I think they're going to play him mostly in a drop because they're still going to want him out of the paint. That's where De'Aaron Fox is going to kill you. I remember back 2 years ago, I was like, he's kind of like the guard version of Zion Williamson because when he gets in the paint, he's going to finish whatever he gets, and if he's not going to finish it, he's going to get an offensive rebound because low-key, he's a pretty good offensive rebounding guy for a guard. We all remember the Goran Dragic play very, very vividly. But yeah, I think they're going to play straight up drop for some of the game, maybe explore some traps here and there. At least that's what I think, because Spo loves to, kind of tinker and toy with certain guys, especially elite point guards like that.
All right, Mateo, a little bit of rapid fire before we get into predictions. Who has to have a good game, or which player for Miami has to have a good game tonight when it comes to not only just the win, but for their season so far, right? Just making sure that, okay, I'm not a negative for this team. I have to show out and make sure that I'm still a positive for this team. It's spreading. It's spreading.
My God, my answer is Bam, but he's never shown that he's a negative for this team. It's really important that he and the rest of the group crash the glass hard because the game against the Warriors was the 3rd game this season where the Heat have given up at least 20 points in the second chance department. You do not want to see that happen. Sabonis is a skilled big who can score very well around the basket. Also, Bam, I really want to see him shoot well next to the basket like we did in the last game so he can start taking more outside shots. But he's the guy who I'm looking to tonight, Jonathan.
Ethan, Tyler Herro is at 19.5 on Prize Picks. Are you going over or under on that?
I was just looking at that one. I wouldn't play it. honestly. I think it's close to where he's going to be. Again, I do think he'll eat tonight in a way he didn't in the last game. But actually, the play I like tonight, and Mateo mentioned, is Bam over 8.5 rebounds. And the reason for that is that typically they got their asses handed to them on the boards in the second half. That's going to be a focus for Spoelstra. Is the rebounding. They don't have a lot of other options to rebound tonight. And so I expect Bam to get into the low double digits. He has rebounded well typically against Sabonis. I look back at some of the numbers here. I think just from a quickness perspective, he'll be able to get 3 or 4 offensive boards. So I would say over 8.5 on him. I'll tell you what, the Jimmy Butler number keeps rising on Prize Picks. He's at 24.5 points. It is getting to the point where I won't play it. Last year he was at 21.5 consistently, which was his average. I was playing that towards the end of the season, but I wouldn't play 24. I wouldn't go over. I don't think this is the type of game. Look, let's put it this way. They want to win this game comfortably. Okay. I understand it's the end of a road trip. Okay. But this is the one they got to get comfortably tonight. Okay. Get home, get some rest, get ready for Golden State. You got the cross-country flight. I don't know that Jimmy's going to play the whole fourth. I would hope for their sake he won't, even though a lot of the games against the Kings have been tight. So I would go over on Bam 8.5 because they don't have other options there. I think they might be able to get by without a huge scoring game from Jimmy tonight.
Marco, last one. Max Strus on Prize Pick sitting at 2.5 threes tonight. Over under 2.5 threes tonight.
I like the over. My man Max Strus on the West Coast is kind of a different animal. It's kind of hilarious how I don't know, when he went to Portland last year, he went off to, I remember there was also a game against Golden State, and he played well against Golden State again. So I'm going to go over, but I'm not going to feel good about it because Max is kind of like, he's a very up and down guy. You know, he's the epitome of like a shooter to shoot guy. He's going to shoot at least. He's not like Duncan where sometimes he might not shoot. Although Duncan, to his credit, he's been a lot better at that this year. So, but I think I'm going to go with the over, but I'm not going to feel good about it because, again, don't take gambling advice from me specifically. You can take it from Brian or Greg or whoever, but not me specifically.
Mateo, break us down on the prediction. Give us who do you think is going to win tonight, and give us a key to the game.
I got a Heat win tonight, Jonathan. The Sacramento Kings are giving up 120 points per game. Like Ethan said, this is the one they need. They got their butts handed to them last time on the board. I think they're gonna do whatever they can to force De'Aaron Fox into playing mostly from the outside tonight. You know, in the paint, he scores 75% of his attempts. That's monster-like. I know right now he's shooting 42% from deep, but those numbers will not last. He's a 32% shooter from the outside territory. I would suggest on pick and roll going under the screen to take away some space. And when he's outside with the ball in his hands, also conceding space to force him to take some outside shots. But it really starts with forcing him to be an outside shooter. I'm going to go with a Heat win.
Marco, where you at?
Ooh, I'm going to go Heat win in a close one because obviously I think they're going to win probably by like 5 or something. It's going to be annoyingly close like those Orlando games a couple of years ago. I think De'Aaron's probably going to go off against our guards unless Caleb Martin, who is going to get the bulk of the minutes on him. And there are going to be some switches there, but I think they're going to play exclusively drop with Caleb and probably Bam. They played drop against Steph Curry, so they're going to do it against De'Aaron Fox. They're not going to be afraid of that. I think DeMontis is going to have a quiet game. He low-key struggles against Miami, which makes sense. Bam. And obviously some of those Pacers games against Miles Turner are kind of a clunky fit. So, yeah, I'm going to go Miami, but annoying.
Yeah, and Ethan, you mentioned that they're getting comfortable with Caleb Martin. Just his ability to guard like 1 through 4, is something that's – and be like a true point of attack defender. Like PJ Tucker was a high effort point of attack defender where he worked really hard to stay in front of guards. But Caleb team another wrinkle that we can get going with. So like I said, go ahead, break me down your prediction and then give me a key to the game.
I think they win. I'll say they win by double digits tonight. I actually do think that they get it together a little bit. I think they will focus for this particular game. I will say though that we're talking a lot about De'Aaron Fox. I think they'll handle him. Because Spoelstra tends to focus on one guy and try to take him out. The guy that I went over with for the Kings was Keegan Murray. I think that he's at 16.5. I think he has a big night. But of course, and I'm partially responsible for this because I tweeted out at a game last year that it was Malik Monk, the worst guard to ever come out of Kentucky in recent years. And then he scored 30 points in the second half. And he's basically scored. This is, I think, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and he's scored roughly 30 points against them every single time since, except one game where he shot about 2 for 14. I think they have him handled. But if they don't, it's my fault. But I do think they'll hold Fox down tonight. I do. I know he shows up against Bam. They're close friends and all that. But I think Spo's going to have – Spo had a night to prepare for this, not a back-to-back. I think that they'll do a damage on him. I would watch Keegan Murray tonight and, of course, Malik Monk. And you're right. Sabonis does not play particularly well against the Heat. He's put up some numbers, but he doesn't make an impact. I feel like they're going to be okay tonight. I do. Tuesday's another story.
Now, Mateo, you mentioned about just keeping De'Aaron Fox out of the paint. I mean, keeping the entire team of the Sacramento Kings out of the paint. When it comes to 2-point scoring, they're actually number one. They shoot 58% from inside of the 3-point line, but when it comes to behind the line, they're 23rd. So forcing that team to shoot threes is going to be the key to success this game. I do think Miami gets it done. I think we control the tempo. I think, like Ethan said, we get a Tyler Hero game just because he feasts on bad teams. So he'll have a nice little game to kind of just get some flow get some rhythm going into the next game. Like I said, if you think Miami's going to win, make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys subscribe. If you're young and with the family, give Mark Brown PA a call. That's marcbrownpa.com, or give him a call at 954-866-8513. And if you want to play some of those prize picks that we just did on our rapid fire, go to prizepicks.com, use the promo code 5. That's FIVE. That'll double your deposit up to $100. $100 free money you're getting right there. You can use that free money to play the bets. And hey, if we get it wrong, at least we gave you that free money. So,
Jonathan, I'm not letting you go without this because Fonseca gave all of his picks. Okay, gave all of his picks. All right. So what do you like in prize picks tonight in the fight game? Because you know Brian went 5 for 5 last time. He paid off like 30-1 or something like that for people. So you're on the spot. What do you like?
Oof. Well, I'm looking at Arnold Allen versus Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar is a guy who Max Holloway set strike records against, and Calvin Kattar did not go away. Arnold Allen is undefeated right now. He just came off a win against Dan Hooker. They have him at 80.5 significant strikes. I think you can go over on that. Calvin Kattar, like I said, he's not going to get knocked out, right? So he's going to sit there. He'll eat some strikes. I think you can go over on the 80.5 for Arnold Allen on significant strikes.
I have no idea what you just said, but go to Prize Picks. Use the code 5. FIVE. You might as well have been muted. But check out Jonathan's work on the fight game as well. He's a dual threat for us, even though he's 3-piece combo. We appreciate that. Anyway, you close the show. I'm sorry. I wanted to get a Prize Picks fight plug in there. That's all.
There we go. Well, now we got some Prize Picks, but like I said, use the promo code 5 if you're going to play that play, or Ethan's going to chop you up. Alejandro, take us away. Let's go Heat.
All right. Happy Halloween, Ethan. All right. Here we go. Let's continue with the second part of the pregame show. Now, let's listen to Eric Spoelstra and a couple of the players as we prepare for the Miami Heat to face the Sacramento Kings tonight. The last game of this quick trip to the West Coast. Remember, they're going to be back soon in Miami to play the Warriors once again, and also these Sacramento Kings for a second time. Let's continue now with Eric Spoelstra. Let's see what he said after last game against the Golden State Warriors.
Good to feel to see it come together on both ends and the way the team looks.
Yeah, that's probably appropriate to say that we put it together on both ends because we've been doing some better things. I mentioned that the last 2 games you saw our activity level go up. And even last game, some of the ball movement you saw tonight, that was there in that loss against Toronto. Really moved the ball, shared it, and we just missed a lot of those opportunities. It was nice to see us be on the other side of the transition game for once, this season. But there was a lot of activity, throughout the course of the game, either defensively making multiple efforts, which they're a very challenging team to guard. I mean, obviously it was different when Lillard went out, but they can move you around and they play fast. We had those efforts in transition. We were disruptive defensively, and then we had 15 offensive rebounds. So I think as Pat called it, the big muscle areas, we did much better across the board on both sides of the floor in those areas.
The imprint of Caleb. It's tough to be 7
Yeah.
for 8 and yet make a bigger impact from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah, if he didn't score one basket tonight, he was going to be the player of the game regardless. His activity level, taking the challenge on, they're two great, guards that your pickup points have to be so much higher on both those guys than typically every night. And then even when he was switching, and had Nurkic in the post, he just used his speed and his quickness, his disruptiveness to really turn it into an advantage for us. It felt like he was the Matrix out there. It felt like he was in a bunch of different places at the same time. And then he just made some plays in transition, and I thought he played within himself, but the activity was really contagious for everybody else.
Jovic getting his chance. I know there were fouls, but just your thought about getting a chance to get him in there and at least getting that first taste.
Yeah, sometimes that's just the way it goes. Sometimes, when you have to be ready so you don't have to get ready, well, you never know when your opportunity is going to come. But he's been putting in a lot of time. He still has a lot to learn, but the guys, they encourage him. They see his skill set. They see how he could help. It's good to have him out there when we were playing well. So you can see the possibilities, and hopefully we can just continue to build on that.
Going back to him in the third quarter, obviously, was there something that you liked in the first half in the appearance, even despite the fouls?
Yeah, there are some things offensively where we can move them around, and when they went to their small lineup in the first half, that hurt us. It was a short stretch, but he's mobile. Even though he did foul, a lot of those were Lillard pick and rolls. I mean, he's going to draw fouls on your best defenders. Nico will continue to work at it, drill at it, but I thought we were able to manage that smaller lineup, in that second half a little bit better with him out there.
Thoughts on Kyle beyond the shooting?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's all about winning, with Kyle and his impact. He's selfless, so we still have to develop some continuity, even though we've brought a bunch of guys back. That the starting lineup is a little bit different, and we like the direction it's going, but that doesn't mean it's going to be just everything is great. You got to work through some things. We have some firepower. We have a lot of guys that can, do a lot with the ball in their hands, and that just takes a little bit of time. All the little nuances sometimes can knock players out of rhythm, and Kyle is such a giving player. He just wants everybody to play well. So sometimes when you're trying to set everybody up, sometimes that just takes you a little bit out of rhythm. And tonight I thought he was assertive on his catches, and he did it with the ball in his hands, and he did it.
All right, guys. Sorry, I'm put the wrong clip on, so I'm sorry. I'm downloaded the new one. So this is the actual press conference after the game that the Miami Heat lost to the Golden State Warriors. So here we go. I'm sorry once again. Here we go with the actual press conference after that game when the Miami Heat lost 123 to 110 to the Golden State Warriors. This is Eric Spoelstra post-game press conference.
Eric, the rebounding and the second chance points, how do you offset that? Was that something they did, something you guys didn't do?
Yeah, I mean, whether we're the man or zone, it's those extra efforts. I thought the last couple of games we had gotten a lot better with that. Tonight, we just weren't really committed to those blockouts and those extra guys coming down, crack down to rebound. It has to be a group effort for us. We're much better in that department than we showed tonight. It was costly tonight, the 27 second chance points, obviously, and they pursued. Particularly when we were in the zone, they crashed and had some key ones more than anything.
This could be the kind of game where you look at it and you say, otherwise, if you get what you got in this game against a lot of other teams, they're positive results. So I know a loss is never encouraging,
but are there factors of this game you can take out and say, okay, progress here and there?
Look, every game that you play is an opportunity for your team to grow. There are some costly things tonight, where we didn't really have an opportunity there in the last 2 minutes to turn it into a possession game. That's what you want on the road, is just to have a crack at it, to be able to legitimately win, and we will figure that out. And it's always a great challenge playing against this team, because you have to do so many multiple things defensively. You have to be connected. I thought our effort level, activity level was good. We did have some mistakes that'll happen because you're scrambling. But probably more than anything, it was those extra second chance opportunities after we defend for 18, 20 seconds with great rotations and everything, and even contests on a shot, and that leads to an offensive rebound, put back, or foul. That can collapse your spirit just momentarily. We'll get better at that.
What do you like about Bam tonight, Eric?
He was terrific on both ends of the court. He was basically doing everything for us defensively, and a lot of different coverages, whether we're switching, whether we're playing more traditional pick and roll coverage. He was chasing around their perimeters because they're not a normal team. If they get the switch, then they just move it around, then run you off on the baseline. He was able to do that. Also, control the glass, for us. And in the other end, he was just really effective in the paint, and that's probably where you have to try to really, hurt this team. Is in the paint at the rim. And he was very efficient on his catches and assertive.
Sort of seemed like playoff level Jimmy today, the way he took it to another level. Is that a sign of who he is on second night of a back-to-back, knowing more is needed between just across the board and the steals and what he did for you guys?
Yeah. We played him at every position tonight as well, officially at the 5 tonight. So he played all the positions defensively and all the positions offensively for us. I think one of the more remarkable things about Jimmy is his mental toughness. Every team, every player has to play back-to-backs, but he finds a way to play his best in those kind of unique circumstances, and we needed every bit of it tonight. It was just a shame that it wasn't a possession game going down the stretch.
Apologize that I don't know the answer to this, but how often have you played Jimmy at 5 prior to tonight?
I've played him. I've probably done it occasionally, but very short bursts. We have 2 of our centers out right now, so it was by any means necessary. Those are extreme circumstances, but he has that kind of versatility. I've said that before, that before his career is done, with me, I would like to start him at all 5 positions at some point. I've started him at all 4 positions. And I don't want that to happen this year. I don't want that to happen this year, but at some point I want to be able to show the world his versatility, that he could do it. But it was extreme circumstances tonight.
And how much does the way the Warriors play force you to be creative in what you're doing, whether it's defensively or offensively?
You just don't face anybody else that plays that kind of style. If you're Eastern Conference, Western Conference, you don't see it except for 2 times a year. It's extremely unique, and I think that's good for your ball club, to figure out. It still becomes competition. You got to find a way to figure it out. It might be different than our normal game plan, but that helps you when you have to put in a game plan on a back-to-back and implement it and then go compete. At some point in the playoffs, these kind of experiences help you to be able to do something a little bit different. I would say probably there's a segment of our offense that's similar to them. but we are not a facsimile. Nobody's a facsimile of how they play.
Coach, Rick mentioned having to be a little creative with these guys. You spent a lot of the evening with Kyle Lowry guarding Draymond Green. What was the thinking there? How do you think that went?
Oh, he's a major factor, to their offense. He's such a brilliant passer, playmaker. You try to take away some things that they're really good at, and yet they still have the skill and talent, to knock down big shots. Curry's shot in front of our bench, at the end of the clock, that's just creating something out of nothing. Klay Thompson had a big one, coming off a screen, and we're draped all over him. So they have the ability to do that, but Draymond unlocks a whole another level of their offense, and you have to have somebody that's can match him competitively, and Kyle can match anybody competitively in this league, and you have to have somebody that can match his brain, and Kyle's one of the smartest guys in the history of this game. So we just felt you match those two things together, it gives at least something that we can do that might disrupt a part of their offense. All right, thank you.
All right, and that was Eric Spoelstra talking about that game against the Golden State Warriors. Let's continue with our pregame show, pregame coverage, as we get ready for tonight's game. The Miami Heat facing the Sacramento Kings, the last game in the 3-game road trip out west for the Miami Heat. Let's continue now with Jimmy Butler. Let's see what Jimmy Butler said about this particular situation here. Here we go. Jimmy Butler.
So, no, that's not an excuse.
You like Bam's activity tonight seemed like normal Bam.
Mm-hmm. We always want Bam to be like that. We want everybody to be like that. But along with him playing that way, I want him to play that way in wins, not in losses. And I want him to stay aggressive. But I just think we got to be better as a team. With him being aggressive and Tyler being aggressive, myself, Kyle, and whoever else, let's just turn these into W's.
Jimmy, obviously you're always willing to do whatever coach asks. With Big injured today, you played some 5 also. What's that like when you sort of look around the lineup and you realize you're the biggest guy on the floor? Does that, on one hand, help in the 5-out offense spread the floor? And on the other hand, sort of what's that like when you're the biggest guy out there?
I don't really be paying attention, to tell you the truth. I just be playing basketball, space the floor, get in the dunker, handle the ball, do what the squad, what coach asked me to do. Probably got to do more to ensure that we get some W's from here on out.
All right, that was Jimmy Butler. A short one. Jaime Canastas, dice Jose Matos. Jimmy Canastas, yes. By the way, we have a shirt on the 5 Reasons website if you guys want one. Jimmy Canastas shirts. I wear them some of the time. So you like it. It's a black one with Jimmy Butler's face, and it says Jimmy Canastas. That's our creation there in the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. All right, let's finish this part with here we go.
You can always take something from every game, but a loss is a loss. And, we got to find ways to win games. No moral victories in the NBA.
And the rebounding deficit, obviously you're going to be a small team. I know Dedmon was out today. Obviously Omar's still been out, but this is sort of who you are. How do you compensate on nights like this?
Be on the same page, be connected, be early on rotations, understanding that, what's next play speed, quick next play speed, mindset. But, we can always do those things to try to help ourselves get better.
20-plus turnovers, I think, for Golden State. Would you like to have taken a little bit more of an advantage of that?
How many points we have already? Not enough. We could take advantage of it more, but, we didn't. So there's things that we can work on and get better at. I mean, I don't know how many 5 games in, and we just got to continue to get better. Transition, make some layups, make some shots. We got some good looks tonight. We missed some open looks, but, we could continue to get better and take those same shots. We're going to make more than we missed.
They're so unique in the way that they obviously just explode offensively with the way they knock down the 3 ball. But overall, did you feel like you did a decent job till that last little barrage?
I mean, I think what hurt us was the points in the paint. They got a lot of layups, and I know Steph had 7 threes, and they made a lot of threes. But it's the points in the paint that kind of hurt us, broke our back a little bit.
Kyle, they play different almost than anybody else offensively in the league. How difficult is it to face them on a back-to-back where you don't have that same preparation? Would it be different if it wasn't on a back-to-back?
No, not really. So, they play the same way. They always you know what to expect when you're going to play against Golden State. So, back to back or not, you have to understand and be mentally prepared to run, chase, and understand and use your brain speed. Thank you guys. Thank you, sir.
All right, that was Kyle Lowry talking about that particular game against the Golden State Warriors. Against Miami, he lost 123-110 and are now 2-4 in the first 6 games of the season. Tonight they face the Sacramento Kings. Let's finish tonight's pregame show with our friend Brady Hawk. I love when we have Brady Hawk here in the pregame show. He's not going to be live, but he is going to be doing some X's and O's here with Bam Adebayo on what he did against the Golden State Warriors. Let's see what Brady did in his film life. Here we go.
He ended up losing to the Warriors last night. I'd say the formula was pretty simple. It was pretty much the rebounding battle was 50-31. Steph Curry at the end of the game pretty much got the switches he wanted and ended up kind of taking advantage on just hitting tough shots. And Tyler Herro obviously wasn't himself last night. And had kind of a down shooting night and scoring night in general. It kind of bled into some other things. So I think the formula for losing was pretty clear, and I thought their defense was actually pretty good last night, especially when you look at the two of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, like the things they were able to do, even just in the box score. Like usually defensive stuff comes without in the box score. They were doing it in the box score with steals and blocks and everything along those lines. But speaking of Bam, I thought his absolute just in general shot profile was just very good last night. The shots he was getting and the reasons he was getting to it because of the Warriors' specific defensive structure. So I just want to go through and show some of the different ways that he was scoring. And first, speaking of that shot profile, this was a shot profile last night. Like the fact that he only missed 3 shots, but you could see that coming into the game, it was pretty clear where he was kind of knowing the shots were going to come from because the Warriors' defense basically does not allow you to get to the rim a lot. Like last night, they were just not letting anybody get to the rim. And I think that was part of the reason Tyler struggled because usually if he's attacking in the pick and roll, getting him some easy lay-ins and things along those lines, it leads to him getting into a rhythm and kind of scoring in general. But looking at these shots, you can kind of remember where these shots are coming from because I'm going to show there's basically 2 shots that he was shooting in these exact spots. And I think this is something we got to look into, I guess, moving forward because it could be important for him. First one, Caleb Martin obviously hitting Kyle Lowry on the drive. Bam's going to float a little bit. Like I said, they're going to block off the rim. So he's not going to be a hardcore roller in this game. He's pretty much going to be a floater, just trying to get to that push shot, which I think there's mixed emotions on it because it's kind of if you have it going early, it'll probably be there all night. But if you don't have it early, it's kind of a tough shot to get going because it's in that in-between range. But right here, he gets it right in that spot, gets it and just floats it up. And then that's kind of the main look here in these rolls because he's, like I said before, he's not going to be a true lob threat with, like you see right here, the second play, you see the help they're helping over. That's Duncan Robinson in that weak side corner, but they're going to split the difference. And it's actually Strus and Duncan Robinson, but they're going to kind of split the difference there. They're going to make sure you don't get many attempts at the rim. So Jimmy, nice pass inside to Bam. They're both contesting it, but he hits that float shot again. That's shot number 1 that he's going to be trying to get to. The next one, before I get into the rest of the shot profile, going through some of the stuff Bam was doing, I always talk about the post splits that Miami runs. And I just saw this play and I was just pretty much like, how do you guard this? Like that was kind of my takeaway here. When you run Bam in these lineups with like, let's say 4 role players or 4 shooters with Gabe, Duncan, Strus, and Caleb, they're not even going to be in those misdirection play. They basically line up like a formation in football. Like they just line up 4 in a row right here. Nobody's protecting the rim. Like sometimes if you see a spot like this, somebody will back off a little bit, but you can't when there's all these shooters. So what happens right here? Strus just slips it and ends up an easy dunk. Like those are the possessions that I just think are so interesting for this Heat team that they have to just build off of with Bam being a playmaker. If you have a big man playmaker, you have to utilize it because that big man can't just sit under the rim on the opposing team. He has to guard you when you're that playmaker and can't be that help side defender. Back to the shot profile stuff. I talked about the floater, the little push shot inside the lane. This is the other shot. Basically, he is attacking one-on-one and just getting to his mid-range jumper. It's just the face-up game. That was his second shot. He basically knew, like I keep saying, they were going to be he wasn't going to get these easy like right slot drives. So he was going to have to kind of play a little bit more with his handle and step back jumpers and little mid-ranges at the free throw line. right here, plays into transition. Once again, knowing the game plan, goes into a little in and out right here, throws him off, gets to the elbow and fires over the top. Like those are the shots. When he's hitting shots early, and I say this a ton as well, like usually when you hear rhythm player, you think of shooters. You think of guys that if a three-point shooter, like let's say Max or even Steph Curry, gets going early in the game, you're like, okay, he's in a rhythm. He's going to be hard to stop. Bam Adebayo being a big man, he is a complete rhythm player. If he's scoring earlier in the game, he's going to probably be scoring late in the game more often than not. So they need to get him going in these type of games or in these type of spots early in games. Right here, another one coming down the floor. Gives it to Gabe. He's going to float once again and get into that push shot yet again. Like that shot was going to be open all night, and he's knocking it down. So they kept going to it and going to it. Back to the face-up now. He gives a quick little jab, baseline jumper. You know he likes that jab and jumper in general, and he hits that. Let's go to another one. Jab, gets into that jumper, hits it. So the funny thing is, going back to the shot profile, you get an idea of not only are the shots similar in terms of the where he's getting them, but the shots are pretty much exactly the same throughout of the type of shots. It's a float shot, a push shot, and it's pretty much a jab and a jumper on the face-up. So I like this type of shot profile from Bam. Once again, if he gets going early in games, it's going to be better for him. But just finding his game in that mid-range area, there's going to be defensive plays that are going to allow more attempts at the rim, and that'll only help his attempts and his scoring. But when he's doing this type of stuff, it really helps the Heat's offense in general, as you saw last night.
All right, that was our future coach, like Jose Mato says, future coach of the Miami Heat, Brady Hawk, talking a little bit about X's and O's with what Bam Adebayo did a couple of nights against the Golden State Warriors. So let's finish this here. Thank you to all of you that are sending comments. David, Kenny, Birelli, Vietzi, Hiro, who else was here earlier? Let me see. Neftali Acosta, Daniel Colina, Rodney Noel, Fernando Lopez, Tiff. All of you, thank you very much for your comments. Remember, if you haven't done it, please subscribe to our channel. We just went over the 20,000 subscribers. Our next goal is going to be 25,000. So we have a long way to go. Let's see if we get there before the season is over. Miami Heat facing the Sacramento Kings tonight. Probably the same lineup as we've been seeing when everybody's healthy or not suspended. So nothing else to add here. Let's get ready. Remember, as soon as the game's over, we are going to do something different tonight. We might just do a quick pot after the game's over, and we'll publish it here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. We'll let you know anyway what we do on Twitter. Pace and Spaces at halftime, also on Twitter. So check that out, and we will see you guys later here tonight on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Have a good night. Brazil in the house. Peter, have a good game. Enjoy the game. Desfrute o jogo do Miami Heat, and we will see you guys later tonight. Have a good one. Enjoy the game, and hopefully the Miami Heat wins and gets their 3rd win of the season. Have a good night. Happy Halloween.